Mangwanani Mwalilepo Vukenjani Klas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Betty and Aina Raisa Koyo. Good morning, Aina. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic.
I can tell.
Oh,
the
yes.
energy.
Oh, yes. Courtesy of Arsenal. They're not our official sponsor, but they're sponsoring my vibes.
You know, the energy is courtesy of Arsenal. Love that. Now, in today's broadcast, we have some exciting news for women on the continent. Now, Sierra Leone reserves 30% of their jobs for women. We cross over to Zimbabwe, where talent Gore will be bringing us the news on the ground. As if that was not enough, Arrie Hougaard joins us to bring us the sports package.
And as if that's not enough, NTV is going to be celebrating 1 year. I mean, 1 year of NTV on the 8th of February, and you have an opportunity to celebrate with us. All you have to do is scan the QR code in the Algamana Titan, Namibian Sun, and Republican. Answer the question that is there, and you stand a chance to win a DSTV Explorer, DSTV Dish Kit, a GoTV decoder, or 3,000 Namibian dollar shopping voucher, courtesy of the Foshini Group. So please, by all means, celebrate with us. The competition closes on the 6th of February. Stay with Africa Good Morning as we head into the top stories rather shortly.
Sunset News is a daily news show focusing on national headlines as well as international news. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact sunset@synergy.com.na. Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.
In our top stories this morning, over 60 women and children freed in Burkina Faso after kidnapping. 66 women and children kidnapped by armed assailants in northern Burkina Faso last week have been freed, national broadcaster Radio Diffusion Television du Burkina said on Friday. The mass kidnapping was unprecedented in Burkina Faso, which is facing a violent Islamist insurgency that spread from neighboring Mali in 2015. On the 12th and 13th January, armed men seized women and their children while they were scouring the bushes for fruits and leaves outside the villages in the district Arbida in the Sahel region, Soma province. Security forces staged a rescue operation and found 27 adult women and 39 babies, children and young girls in the adjacent center northern province. They have been freed after 8 long days in the hands of kidnappers, an ARTP presenter said. The government source confirmed the information but did not provide more detail.
Now, Sierra Leone President Julius Maada Bio on Thursday last week signed a law requiring all private organizations and public ones to reserve 30% of their jobs for women, including in leadership positions in a society that traditionally favors men. The Women's Equality and Empowerment Act that I am signing into law today will undoubtedly completely redress the gender imbalances in our country, the president said during the signing ceremony in Freetown. The text also applies to Parliament, where 30% of the 146 seats must be occupied by women. Some 18 women sit in Parliament today, and 4 are among the 32 members of Mr. Bio's government. It's not going to be easy because this space has been occupied by men for a very long time. We have to monitor the electoral processes to ensure fairness and transparency in the elections, he said. The text also aims to promote women's access to financing and links public spending to equality between men and women. Those who deny women equal access to financial support risk at least 3 years in prison.
Moving on to our next story, Malawi has reportedly run out of cholera vaccine amid its worst epidemic in decades. Malawi's worst cholera epidemic in decades has sparked massive demand for vaccine, but stocks are reportedly running low, according to local media, citing the spokesperson of the Malawi's Health Ministry, Adrian Chikumbe. The country has no more cholera vaccine. Malawi secured a tranche of 2.9 million million doses from Gavi-supported global oral cholera vaccine stockpile in November. The country's 29 health districts reported cholera cases since the confirmation of the first case in March 2022. As of January the 20th, Malawi's health authorities reported a total of 631 new cases of cholera, 17 new deaths. The accumulative confirmed cases and deaths reported since the onset of the outbreak stood at 28,132 and 916 respectively. In its daily update, the Health Ministry urged all Malawans to adhere to preventative and containment measures. Cholera is an acute disease spread via contaminated water and food, which can cause severe dehydration. It is a bacterial disease that affects both children and adults.
Now moving on, Germany faced a strong backlash from allies on Saturday over its refusal to supply Ukraine with its vaunted Leopard tanks to boost its fighting capacity in the nearly year-long war with Russia. On Friday, some 50 nations agreed to provide Kyiv with billions of dollars worth of military hardware, including ample armored vehicles and munitions needed to push back Russian forces. But German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius told reporters on the sidelines of the event at the U.S. Ramstein Air Base that despite heightened expectations, we still cannot say when a decision will be taken and what the decision will be when it comes to the Leopard tank. Now, Germany has been hesitant to send the Leopards or allow other nations to transfer them to Kyiv, with reports earlier in the week saying it would agree to do so only if the U.S. provided its tanks as well. Washington said it could not provide its Abrams tanks to Ukraine, citing difficulties in training and maintenance. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican from South Carolina who is currently visiting Kyiv, called on both sides to supply the machines.
Now, in some heartbreaking news, Gabon's top diplomat suddenly dies from a heart attack. Gabon's Foreign Minister Michael Moussa Adamo died on Friday after suffering a heart attack during a cabinet meeting. The 62-year-old and ally of President Ali Odiba suffered a heart attack and died despite efforts by specialists to revive him, the government said in a brief statement. Reacting to his death on Twitter, President Bongo paid tribute to Moussa Adomo, who he called a friend. A great diplomat, Moussa Adomo was born in the northeastern town of Mokuku in 1961 and started out as a presenter on national television. In 2000, he was made chief of staff of the defense minister, who at the time was Bongo. When Bongo was elected president on the death of his father, Omar Bongo Odiba, in 2009, Moussa Adamo served as his special advisor. After a decade as Gabon ambassador to the United States until 2020, he became the first defense minister and then foreign minister in March last year.
Now, a time bomb, load shedding, is wrecking South Africa's substations. The country's more than 3,000 aging municipal substations are increasingly blowing up, adding to South Africa's electricity woes. Load shedding and vandalism have piled pressure on substations. The substations are also targeted by thieves who damage the infrastructure in search of cables. They increasingly target substations during load shedding, says Robert Ferrier, General Manager of Electrical and Energy Services at Buffalo City Metro. Now, municipalities are struggling with the aging electricity infrastructure that is old and dilapidated due to a lack of maintenance, refurbishment and investment. The toll that load shedding is taking on infrastructure is adding even more pressure on substations, he added. That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Now, after the break, we'll be talking to talent Gore, starting with a tragic story, because not every record is good. An 8-year-old girl has become a mother in Zimbabwe. Stay with us.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
Now, as I highlighted prior to the break, in Zimbabwe, an 8-year-old girl has become a mother, which is truly terrible news on all fronts. Talent Gore, however, is here to bring us all the news as it is from Zimbabwe. Talent Wamukase, please take it away.
So last year, I think I did a story reporting that there was an 8-year-old girl who was pregnant. Apparently, the 8-year-old girl was pregnant last year after being raped by two 17-year-old boys and birth to a baby girl, becoming the country's youngest mother ever. The girl, who cannot be named on ethical reasons, delivered through cesarean section, and a government gynecologist has reportedly been closely monitoring the young mother. The patient was taken to theatre in around 9 a.m. A cesarean section was performed and she delivered a baby girl. The hospital managers have said that currently she is unstable and receiving a post-op care, and the baby is stable receiving neonatal care. The girl will be turned over to the social welfare department after being discharged from the hospital. She sadly joins a growing number of young minors in Zimbabwe who have become pregnant as a result of sexual exploitation by older persons. Last year, another 9-year-old Cholocha girl became the country's youngest mother after also giving birth to a child she conceived when she had sex with a 13-year-old relative. So the 8-year-old now becomes the youngest mother in Zimbabwe at the moment.
All right, now, Talent, let us move over to our next story. Zim is set to receive 14 million US dollars from Malaria Initiative. Tell us about this.
Zimbabwe is set to receive 14 million United States dollars from the United States President's Malaria Initiative this year, as malaria continues to be a major health problem in Zimbabwe. The PMI currently supports 24 in sub-Saharan Africa and 3 programs across the greater sub-region in Southern East Asia to control and eliminate malaria. Zimbabwe began receiving this support in 2011, and the fund will support in interventions such as vector monitoring and control, malaria in pregnancy, case management, health supply chain, and pharmaceutical management, social and behavior change. So we're going to be receiving this, the 14 million from the presidential United States Malaria Initiative, and we're going to receive the money very soon. We're just not sure as to when we will receive the money.
All right, now the Meteorological Service Department is currently monitoring the tropical storm Cheneso. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, the Meteorological Services Department has said that it is monitoring moderate tropical storm Cheneso, which may land in Madagascar on Thursday. It has since caused heavy rains in Madagascar and Zimbabwe. At the moment, they're just monitoring and they are warning people of this tropical storm. For the past few weeks, Zimbabwe has been receiving heavy rains, which has damaged infrastructure, roads and schools. So at the moment, the Meteorological Department is just monitoring, and it has warned people of the tropical storm Cheneso, which is currently in Madagascar.
Talent, thank you so much for bringing us the stories that are making headlines in Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Now we move over to look at the weather predictions from Southern Africa. Thank you very much for watching our show this morning. Let's get into our economic news. Africa inflation to ease in 2023 after worst figures in a decade. Despite slowing growth and the worst inflation figures in a decade in 2022, African economies remain resilient and double-digit price hikes are expected to ease, an African Development Bank report said on Thursday. Economies across Africa's 52 nations were hard hit by global economic fallout of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as well as the impact of climate change and aftershocks of the COVID-19 pandemic. A stronger dollar, inflation, and slowdown in demand for exports to major trading partners in Europe and China had dire consequences for the continent's economy, said ADB report. An estimated 15 million additional people were driven into extreme poverty in Africa due to higher global energy and food prices in 2022, exacerbating the increase in extreme poverty induced by COVID-19 pandemic, further said the ADB.
Now, hundreds were put on forced leave in Zimbabwe as ZESA switched off the Harare industrial area. Hundreds of industrial workers in Harare's busy Workington area have been laid off by different companies struggling to operate due to an electricity crisis that has seen the long-going almost a month without power. Now, companies have reduced their workforce to cut down on wage bills. They have been using generators since December 28, when one of power utility ZESA's sub-power stations blew up. Alan Dreyer, who owns Woodtake, said some businesses were set to pay the remainder of employees in their books despite not having been productive the whole month. A ZESA engineer on site said he could not comment on the matter. Further inquiries revealed that the head office had not started the process of fixing the station. I cannot give you a specific date, but we will just have to see where we would be by next week Friday, he said. Now, the parts are accessible in South Africa and are yet to be ordered. The area in question houses millers of wheat and maize, one of Harare's largest sugar refineries, and other key industries. Zimbabwe is already reeling from an electricity crisis that has seen load shedding of up to 18 hours as a result of depreciated water levels at its main Kariba hydro power plant. Contributions from Hwange thermal power stations have been intermittent due to old machinery at that site. That brings us to the end of our economic news stories on Africa. Good morning. Let's head into the economic indicators just before the sport. 396 passes to 502, a possession of 32% to a possession of 58%. 25 shots on target, 25 shots rather taken, and only 6 shots for the other team. Some might say this was a competition. I would say this was the assertion of dominance by a team that has showed us what they are made of throughout the season. Arsenal beat Manchester United 3-2, and according to me, that's exactly how things were meant to go. Good morning, Arrie Hougaard. How are you?
Yes, a very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, that is a great assumption there, and not describing the game very well. And indeed, a massive win for Arsenal. That was in the English Premier League, season-defining in a way. It's many games to go, but it's season-defining because it was in another informed team in the top 4, Manchester United. So it was Arsenal beating Manchester United by 3-2. The winner scored late in the game, a very exciting game. But a big statement made by Arsenal as a lot leaders. They're 5 points clear at the moment from Manchester City. Manchester City kept the pressure going. They beat Wolverhampton by 3-0, but 5 goals behind. And Arsenal also do have 1 game in hand. Number 3 and 4 at the moment on 39 points is Newcastle and Manchester City. Arsenal leading with 50 points. Mid-table, it is Liverpool and Chelsea, 0-0 draw. That's the reason why they're in mid-table at the moment, 9th and 10th on the log at the moment after that result. And also not good news for Everton. Everton losing to West Ham 2-0. That's significant because Everton have not been outside the Premier League in 59 years. And they're second from last at the moment. So a good weekend for Arsenal. And they march on in their hope to win the English Premier title of 2023. On to the Australian Open tennis tournament, always a big one to open the year. That is Iga Swiatek, #1 seed in the women's draw. She's out of the tournament. Big news coming in. She was beaten by Elena Rybakina of Kazakhstan by 6-4, 6-4. Not a good day for all the top seeds. It is also Coco Gauff, #7 seed of the USA, out, lost to Yelena Ostapenko 7-5, 6-3. And then also earlier this morning, Caroline Garcia of France, #4 seed. She lost to unseeded Magda Linette of Poland. Magda Linette, countryman of Iga Swiatek. Jessica Pegula, USA, still in the tournament. She's #3 seed. In the men's draw, it is Stefanos Tsitsipas there in picture. He's through to the next round. The tough 5-setter for him, but he's into the quarterfinals. And the big news there is #4 seed Novak Djokovic marching on still, despite the hamstring injury. He beat Grigor Dimitrov in 3 sets. And also a player that I like that is doing well is Sebastian Korda of the USA, #29 seed. And he is also through to the quarterfinal. That is Sebastian Korda. On to rugby news. It was the Sevens tournament that was played in Hamilton. Firstly, that is some of the European Rugby Championship action. The Stormers playing against Clermont in Cape Town. That was on Saturday evening. Stormers winning 30 points to 16. They through to the playoffs in the quarterfinal. Sharks lost to Harlequins. That was away in England, 39-29. And the Bulls lost to Leone, also in France, 31-7. And the Sevens finals that was played in Hamilton is part of the Sevens tournament. And it is the Argentinian men that beat New Zealand, surprisingly, by 14-12 in their home country to win the Hamilton title. And in the women's draw, it was New Zealand that beat the USA 33 points to 7 to clinch the Hamilton Sevens. On to cricket news briefly, it is the Under-19 World Cup that continues in South Africa. India beat Sri Lanka by 7 wickets, and a big result for Rwanda. Rwanda beating West Indies by 4 wickets. Not many times that you hear Rwanda beating West Indies in cricket. And the SA20 tournament, it was the Paarl Royals that beat the Pretoria Capitals by 6 wickets. And then closer to home, the ODI series, Zimbabwe versus Ireland. It's the second ODI, Ireland winning that 46 runs. They won all the last one played today. And then to close off quickly, the golf news. Golf Abu Dhabi winner is Victor Perez of France. So that's all the sports news for today. That's the Victor Perez winning in Abu Dhabi. Great result for Arsenal again. And enjoy a day that your opponent's going to be quite quiet today.
Yes.
Just be ready for that.
As they should be. You know, Arrie, I was just thinking to myself, I'm so grateful that MTV repeats Africa Good Morning at 8:30. Why? Because throughout those news stories, I was just thinking about those 2 goals by Nketiah. My goodness. Stay with Africa Good Morning. We'll bring your highlights after the break.
Chill Sessions is an entertainment show that brings you the latest hit, fashion, and entertainment news. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact chill@synergy.com.na. Chill Sessions, bringing art and entertainment to the people.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout this broadcast. Let's have a look at the highlights. Over 60 women, children freed in Burkina Faso after kidnapping. Sierra Leone, a new law imposes 30% of positions for women. Malawi has reportedly run out of cholera vaccine amid its worst epidemic in decades. Africa inflation to ease in 2023 after worst figures in a decade. Drab draws Liverpool and Chelsea still mired in mid-table. And of course, Arsenal got the best of Manchester United with a 3-2 win.
Those have been our stories for this morning. We thank you very much for watching our show. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Please do engage us on social media. Send us your remarks regarding our show. And do not forget to partake in our competition, NTV Turns 1. And there are amazing prizes to be won from all of us here in studio. It's all our love, all our light.
Será Jacanaka.